Power, Negotiation, and Sir Isaac Newton. Karen just graduated from college. She's living on her own and desperately needs a job. She really wants to work in the high-tech industry, but alas, everybody wants a job in that industry. When it comes to getting her dream job and making some money so she can pay her bills and college debt, it seems like the hiring manager, Rob, has all the power. But does he? To understand power and negotiation, let's turn to an unlikely guide, Sir Isaac Newton. He's never had a high-tech job, but in 1704 he discovered something important about the nature of white light that can help us to understand the nature of negotiation power. Using a lamp, Newton ran the white light through a prism to separate light into its component parts. Nothing new here. Others had done that before and believed that white light was colorless and the prism was producing the colors. But Newton went a step further, and after refracting the initial beam into a rainbow of distinct colors, he directed those beams through another prism, which combined them back into white. Newton showed us that in fact white light itself is made up of all the various colors combined together. Newton's discovery about the nature of light offers us a useful analogy for thinking about the nature of power when we negotiate. It can appear as if negotiation power is a single, almost tangible thing, concentrated, blinding like Newton's white light. You either have it or you don't. But if we refract negotiation power through a prism of sorts, we discover that power is in fact a combination of distinct elements. If you understand what produces or enhances negotiation power, you can increase your own. Because the bottom line is that negotiation power equals the ability to influence the other person. And your ability to influence comes from a few key places. How can this help Karen? First, let's look at the most traditional source of negotiation power, which is the strength of your alternatives. If the other person says no, or you can't reach an agreement, what are you going to do instead? Your best alternative to a negotiated agreement is sometimes called your BATNA. Here, Karen's BATNA doesn't look so good. If she doesn't get the job, she'll end up looking for another job or being a waiter until she can land something more permanent. In contrast, Rob's alternatives are pretty darn good. If he doesn't hire Karen, he's got a list of candidates who would love the job. The gap between Rob's strong alternatives and Karen's lousy ones is usually what we mean when we say someone is more powerful in negotiation. This makes it even more important that Karen think about other sources of power if she hopes to increase her ability to persuade Rob. Here, three folks at Harvard University, Roger Fisher, William Ury, and Bruce Patton, in their book Getting to Yes, remind us that when we look through that prism, power comes from other elements as well. A critical source of power is your ability to look beyond the initial ask or demand to more deeply understand the interest or needs of the other party. Rob needs to hire a new worker, sure, but in hiring that person, what is important to him? What does he worry about? Given his experience last year, he might be particularly concerned that the person be reliable or good with their peers. He might want the people he hires to have flexible schedules or good attitudes, or maybe additional skills. The more Karen can learn about Rob's interests, his concerns, constraints, and what's most important to him, the better she'll be able to build options, which is the next source of power. She can offer to start as an intern or part-time doing odd jobs within the organization, or describe her other related experience, such as computer programming. This may get Rob thinking about what a valuable employee she would be because she's showing how she could meet his interests. And that leads us to one more critical source of power that Karen may need to protect herself: objective criteria. What if Rob offers her the job, but at a crummy, lower than usual wage? Is Karen stuck since Rob's alternatives are so good? Not necessarily. Karen should look to objective criteria, outside indicators of what her role is worth. What do other companies pay? Does she have any special skills, like certifications, that make her more valuable? Letting Rob know that she just wants to be treated fairly is a way to discuss what the pay should be without looking greedy or ungrateful, and without jeopardizing the job. Karen learned these lessons well. She got that high-tech job and she never forgot those lessons. 30 years later, anytime Karen is tempted to view herself as the weaker party, she remembers Sir Isaac Newton's prism and the elements she can use to increase her power and influence in negotiation by 1. Working to improve her BATNA, 2. Listening carefully and asking questions to understand the other party's key interests and concerns, 3, crafting options that meet their interest as well as hers. And 4, looking to objective criteria to persuade others what the product or her services are worth.